I'm sorry, but this is serious. There's a federal investigation underway, and your name came up. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I stared at the man sitting across from me, tall, sharply dressed, and holding a crisp manila folder with my name printed on the tab. My voice felt stuck in my throat. I don't understand, I finally managed. What do you mean, an investigation? I haven't done anything wrong. He slid the folder across the polished table and opened it slowly, revealing a series of printed bank statements, emails, and what looked like transaction logs. These wire transfers, he said, pointing to a series of figures, were made from your corporate account to several shell companies. Nearly $500,000 in total over the last 6 months. I blinked, stunned. My name was there. My company's name. The amounts were correct. But I hadn't authorized any of these. This isn't right, I said. These aren't mine. I never approved any of this. His eyes narrowed slightly. I'm not here to determine guilt or innocence. My job is to gather facts. But I need to know, is there someone else who had access to your login credentials or authority in your company's finance division? Yes. There was one person. Alicia Graves. She had been my right hand for 3 years. My trusted operations manager. My friend. We had started the company together. She had access to everything, accounts, passwords, approval authority. We even shared an office space, 2 desks pushed together like old college roommates chasing a dream. I felt my stomach churn. Could she? No. That didn't make sense. But the facts were staring at me, and Alicia was the only person who could have done this without raising flags. I left the office of the federal investigator in a daze, walking through the crowded downtown streets like a ghost. My company was under federal scrutiny. My accounts were frozen. Clients had already begun to pull out. And worst of all, I couldn't prove I didn't do it. Yet. 2 days after the meeting, I showed up at the office to find the locks changed. A legal notice taped to the door informed me that the company was under investigation and that I was suspended pending results. My name was now attached to fraud. I tried calling Alicia, no answer. I emailed, texted, nothing. It was like she had disappeared. But I knew where to start. I still had the hard drive backup from our shared system, a daily auto backup I kept at home, just in case. And thank God I did. I dug into the files that night. My living room turned into a war room of receipts, spreadsheets, and old login logs. For 3 nights I barely slept, but finally, I found it. A folder buried deep inside Alicia's user profile. Hidden and encrypted, but not beyond my reach. Inside were spreadsheets with columns labeled transfer schedule and shell entities. Her name wasn't on anything, but metadata doesn't lie. I had timestamps, edit logs, and even the IP address that matched her laptop. This wasn't just a betrayal. It was a setup. I wasn't going to the authorities yet. No, this needed to be handled carefully. She'd already played one move, I had to counter it. And I knew exactly how. Alicia was clever, but arrogant. She believed I would go down quietly, humiliated. She underestimated one thing: I wasn't going down without a fight. I reached out to Ryan, our old IT contractor. Still grateful I helped him land his current role at a fintech startup. I asked if he could help me set up a secure video capture system, hidden cameras, remote monitoring, time-stamped logs. Everything legal. You planning to catch someone, Sam? He asked. No, I replied. I'm planning to give someone the chance to hang themselves. I arrived early that morning. The conference room at the firm was quiet, cold, and sterile, exactly how I needed it to be. I adjusted the small decorative vase on the table to hide the discreet recording device. Every detail mattered. My hands didn't shake. Not anymore. Not after weeks of preparation. Alicia thought she was coming in for a friendly conversation. She thought I was desperate, scared, out of options. That's exactly what I wanted her to think. She entered, smiling, her expensive heels clicking against the tile floor like a ticking clock. Her silk blouse was perfectly tucked in, lipstick just a shade too bold for morning. She radiated confidence, misplaced confidence. Morning, she said, her voice syrupy sweet. I was surprised when I got your message. Didn't expect you to be so calm. I stood, returned the smile. We need to talk. I've been thinking, maybe you were right. She raised an eyebrow. Right about what? About me needing to take a deal. The board's nervous. I'm nervous. Maybe it's time I protect myself. Her eyes lit up. She took the seat across from me, her whole posture shifting from smug superiority to false sympathy. I'm glad you've come to your senses, Claire, she said, folding her hands on the table. I told you, the firm wants to avoid scandal. They'll offer leniency if you sign now. We can close this quietly. I leaned forward slightly, keeping my expression open, vulnerable. I just want to make sure I understand everything before I sign, I said. You know, the details. Like, the offshore account I supposedly opened in Zurich. Alicia nodded. Yes. The one you moved the funds into. I assume your lawyer explained. No, I want to hear it from you, I interrupted gently. So I know exactly what I'm admitting to. She hesitated. Just a flicker. But it was there. Well, she said, you used a shell company registered in the Cayman Islands to move client funds to Zurich under a false name. She was too confident in her lie. Too fast. I tilted my head. That's strange. Because I checked with Zurich. There's no account under that name. In fact, I reached into my folder and slid a document across the table. Interpol says the company you named doesn't even exist. Her smile faltered. You contacted Interpol? I leaned back now. Calm. Certain. I'm a fraud analyst, Alicia. You really thought I wouldn't follow the money? The air in the room thickened. Her gaze flicked to the door, calculating. I don't know what you're playing at, she said coolly. But if you think this little stunt will get you off the hook. I interrupted again, this time more firmly. See, that's where you made your first mistake. You assumed I was naive, that I wouldn't dig deeper. But you forgot, I taught you how to read financial trails. And your digital fingerprints are all over this. She stood abruptly. This conversation is over. I didn't move. No, Alicia. It's just getting started. And then I said the words I had rehearsed 100 times. Because everything you just said is being recorded. The camera in that vase behind you? It's live. Her face froze. You just outlined the entire fraud. On record. She spun toward the vase and then back at me. That's illegal. I shook my head slowly. Not in this state. One-party consent. And considering it's my name you're trying to ruin, I had every right. Panic crawled into her expression. She stepped back, her voice rising. This won't hold up. You can't prove anything. You've got no. I slid the second folder across the table. These are the wire logs. The IP address used to authorize the transfers? It matches your login from your home network. On 3 separate occasions. She didn't touch the folder. Why? I asked quietly. Why go through all this trouble to frame me? She stared at me, her eyes glassy now. Her breath short. Because it was supposed to be me, she burst out suddenly. I was supposed to get the partner seat, not you. I stayed silent. Let her unravel. I did everything they asked. Late nights, weekends, sacrifice after sacrifice. And you took maternity leave and still got ahead of me. Her voice cracked. They loved you. The golden girl. The ethical compass. The rising star. No one saw me. Tears welled in her eyes, but they weren't the kind I pitied. I gave this firm everything, Claire. And when I realized I wasn't getting the promotion, I knew I had to even the scales. And you thought ruining my life would do that? I asked. She laughed bitterly. I didn't think it would go this far. But once I started, it was too late to stop. And when they believed it, when they started doubting you, I felt powerful. I stood slowly. Walked to the door. Opened it. Our managing partner, Mr. Langston, stepped in. Behind him, our general counsel. Alicia's face went white. She whispered. You brought them here? Langston nodded, eyes hard. Heard everything. We were watching from the adjacent room. And we've already alerted authorities. Alicia's mouth opened, then closed. There was nothing left to say. She slumped into the chair. You destroyed your career for a promotion, I said softly. And you almost took me down with you. I just wanted to matter, she whispered, as Langston escorted her out. The news broke the very next morning. Top financial analyst cleared of fraud allegations, former colleague arrested. My photo was splashed on every local business publication, followed by a much less flattering mugshot of Alicia, hair disheveled, makeup smeared, eyes red from crying or rage, or maybe both. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I felt hollow. After all, I hadn't asked for this war. I had only defended myself in a game I never agreed to play. But in the financial world, the court of public opinion often casts the final vote. And that court was now firmly in my favor. Langston called me into his office 2 days later. "You handled yourself with restraint and strategy," he said, looking at me over his rimless glasses. "Rare qualities. Especially under fire." He paused. "We'd like to offer you the partner position. Effective immediately." I blinked. "You're serious?" "You earned it," he said. "Twice." I nodded slowly. "On one condition." He raised a brow. "I want full access to our internal controls system. And I want to implement mandatory audit trails for every senior employee, including myself." His mouth lifted into a rare smile. Spoken like a true partner. It should have ended there. But stories like this never wrap up with a neat bow. Especially when bitterness festers in silence. 3 weeks after Alicia's arrest, I received an unmarked envelope in my office mail. No return address. Just my name, handwritten in a rushed scrawl. Inside, a USB drive. My stomach dropped. I scanned it in a quarantined virtual environment, protocol drilled into me over years of risk management. There was one file. A video. Less than 2 minutes long. It opened to a dimly lit room. Alicia sat across from a man I didn't recognize. A shadowy figure. Their faces mostly hidden. But the audio was crystal clear. "You owe me," Alicia hissed. "I took the fall. You said you'd handle Claire if I confessed." The man's voice was smooth, practiced. "And I will. But not now. The timing isn't right." My blood ran cold. Alicia hadn't acted alone. Someone had encouraged her. Promised her backup. Manipulated her desperation and weaponized it against me. But who? That night, I barely slept. Every male voice in the office echoed in my memory. Every lingering glance, every half-smile, suddenly suspicious. Who would benefit most if both Alicia and I were out of the picture? Who had remained suspiciously neutral through it all? My mind kept circling back to one person, Gerald Hayes. He'd been with the firm for 2 decades. Always just one step below the partner level, always whispering in boardroom corners. He had vouched for Alicia repeatedly, even when her story didn't add up. And he had access to the same internal systems she manipulated. I needed proof. But now, I was playing a bigger game. This wasn't just about justice, it was about purging poison from the inside. I reached out to a friend, Jenna, a forensic cyber investigator who owed me a favor from years ago when I helped save her brother's failing bookstore with a pro bono budget plan. "I'll need to go deep," she warned me. "Beyond firewalls. We're talking internal server logs, shadow emails, unlisted devices. Just tell me if Gerald left any digital footprints around Alicia," I said. "I'll handle the rest." Within days, she had what I needed. There were encrypted email chains between Gerald and Alicia, using burner accounts routed through foreign proxies. But digital ink always bleeds. One message stood out. Once Claire is gone, you take the fall. They'll believe you acted alone. I'll clean things up from here. Then I'm in line for partner. Gerald. Cold. Calculating. Sacrificing Alicia like a pawn. I now had the evidence to burn him down. But I wanted more than that. I wanted him to admit it. On record. Just like Alicia. I scheduled a boardroom review under the guise of a confidential financial controls audit. Invited only a few key partners and Gerald himself. I played it professionally. Calm. Smiling even. Offered everyone coffee before we began. Then I played the clip. The room fell silent. Gerald's expression flickered. Just slightly. Not enough to scream guilt, but enough to confirm it. Is this supposed to mean something? He asked coolly. This isn't proof. Alicia could be talking to anyone. I nodded. True. Which is why we also pulled her phone logs. I slid another file across the table. You two spoke 12 times in the week leading up to her framing attempt. Funny, considering you both claimed barely speaking outside meetings. He reached for the folder, flipping through slowly. His hands started to tremble. This is a witch hunt, he said. You're twisting facts to push me out. You're afraid of competition. I welcome competition, I replied evenly. What I don't welcome is conspiracy and criminal intent. Langston stood beside me now. We've notified authorities. They're waiting outside. Gerald stood. You'll regret this, he said. All of you. I met his glare with calm steel. No, Gerald. The only regret in this room is yours. You chose the wrong enemy. Later that evening, I sat alone in my office. The lights dimmed. The city skyline painted the windows in amber and gold. The firm was quiet now. Safe again. 2 people had tried to take me down. Both failed. Because I had learned that the most dangerous trait in business isn't ruthlessness, it's underestimating the quiet ones. I stared at the framed photo on my desk, my younger self on her first day at the firm, wide-eyed, nervous, hopeful. She had no idea what was coming. But she'd be proud of how it ended. White heavy check mark.